Welcome to Transformation with Martine. Martine Emmons is a transformational life coach who broke free from childhood abuse, sexual trauma, and overcame cancer to become a powerful force of healing and hope for others. Martine describes traumatic events as fierce emotional tsunamis. They can leave impending doom and destructive tidal waves of emotions that hit you when you least expect it. Martine helps her clients dive into the depths of their trauma and pain as she stands fiercely advocating for them to shine a light on those experiences and find the lesson in the pain. She serves as a beacon of hope that guides you to see the strength, lessons, and purpose that can be born from the pain. You can feel alive with purpose again when you awaken your dormant strength, step into your power with a sense of peace, and discover a new wave of hope with the right tools and support. Martine and her guests are here shining their lights today through empowering stories of hardship and transformation to inspire you to find hope and to see that there is a beautiful blue ocean of serenity, happiness, and fulfillment in your future. Transformation with Martine starts now.
To Transformation with Martine, where we overcome everything and compromise nothing, and getting a little emotional today. I am so excited to be here, and I'm so blessed to be here. It's wonderful to be able to bring hope and transformation to all of you out there. For those of you who may be new, my show is every Friday at 10 a.m. Pacific and 1 p.m. Eastern. And also, for those of you who don't know, my show is about hope. All that my guests that I invite on here have a story of hope, of transformation, of getting back up. All of us together believe that we as humans can get back up from anything. So my guest today, I'm really excited. We've been joined together for a while. My guest is Petra Shaw. She is a best-selling author, a fabulous, fabulous person, and she's got a story of transformation and hope that we will start with, because in her words, there is always hope, help, and healing. Petra Shaw, welcome.
Thank you for having me, Martine. So good to be here with you today and with your audience. It's such an amazing gift to be alive today and just to be able to share with everyone. I'm humbled at the opportunity and just so grateful to be able to share my gifts and a part of my story and my journey, and to really join with you in that transformational platform that you stand on, bringing hope to everyone, believing that transformation is possible.
Yes.
And so I'm so glad to be here with you today, to join hands with all of our sisters, everyone out there, as a matter of fact, just to join hands and to just send hope and help and healing everywhere, because it's available. And all of that is still so very possible for all of us. So I'm so glad to be able to share with you today. Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much. I'm usually don't come to emotion so easy, but today, well, actually, yes, I do. But it's usually had a little bit smoother intro, but today, I know you, and I know you've been through, and I know, well, you have a special place in my heart. So, there's that as well.
And so do you.
So, yeah.
So do you.
So,
I'm on my journey, Martine, because you've walked alongside me as well.
Mm-hmm.
And you've allowed me to share with you and to go deep with you. And I'm just so grateful that you've been an ear for me, and you've carried my heart, and you've allowed me to share my visions with you, and you've just walked alongside me. And so I'm so grateful that we've been able to do life together. So thank you for all that you've been in my life as well. So
thank
grateful.
you for that blessing. It's a beautiful journey, and
yes,
of course, God is a huge part of it. And
absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah. So, we were talking, and you've got a story. Petra has a book called The Mirror Image, and it's a really beautiful anthology with other women, and all the stories are powerful.
Yeah.
But hers, she talks about the law of proximity, sphere of influence, of people making choices. And I'm not sure how much you want to go into your journey, Petra, but um, you've had some tremendous stuff to overcome.
Yeah.
Yeah. And like I said, I don't know how much you want to share, but God, he healed you with the knowledge of somebody making bad choices, and you were the victim of it.
Yes.
How did you rise back up?
Yeah. So just to put perspective to my story, if you didn't grab a copy of my anthology, Image in the Mirror, at the tender age of 13, as a matter of fact, at the age of 9, my father, my biological father, passed away. And he was a wonderful dad, very, very protective, and loved his children.
Mhm.
And so after he passed away, imagine at the age of 9 years old, there was this longing in my heart, just wanting to find a father figure, someone to love me like I knew in my heart my father did, and to protect me and to cover me. I was looking for that affirmation from my father, a father figure, and
Mhm.
he was gone. So I had this longing in my heart. So at the age of 13, um, being in the United States, my mom was working, and so I had to stay with my uncle and his wife for a period of time. And at the age of 13, I was sexually abused by my uncle, and I lived in repression for years. Those memories of what happened to me, and boxing them. How do I package this? What does this mean? What I went through? How do I make it through that? And I repressed it because I really didn't have the tools to deal with it.
Mhm.
And I realized I had the symptoms. I carried the pain all my life in silence, not being able to talk to anyone, being afraid that if I said anything, he would get in trouble or no one would believe me, because he was such a stalwart in our family and in our church.
Mhm.
And who would believe a little girl? Who would believe my story? It would seem almost impossible, like, I'm making this up. But so I carried this for years until I was an adult.
Mhm.
And I had the tools. I remember the very night that, literally, as I said in the book, it's like my levee broke
Mhm.
and everything came rushing back within a moment. Everything that was done to me.
Mhm.
And I lost it. Literally lost it. I felt like I've never felt anger like that in my entire life before. I've never felt pain like that in my heart broke.
Mhm.
And I felt bitterness, and I didn't know what to do. I didn't know where to go.
Mhm.
Um, all I know that I was enraged,
Mhm.
and I wanted to kill him. That's how far my pain went. And I didn't know what to do with this anger, with this pain, and with the resentment. I didn't know how to package it, what to do with it.
Mhm.
All I felt was bitterness and pain from the depths of my soul, every fiber of my being,
Mhm.
when I realized what was done to me, and I wanted to do something about it. So what happened is that I lived in unforgiveness for years. At the mention of his name, at the thought of him, I was in I was enraged. I felt bitterness over again. Every time I would hear his name, I felt that pain and that bitterness and that anger and the resentment. And I wish you would die kind of feeling. And that's very deep for me because I grew up in the church. I'm a church girl.
Mhm.
Um, and it's completely opposite from what I've been taught and know is acceptable for me. what I've come to know and believe for myself.
Right.
But that was my truth, that I lived in it. I was going to church and I was praying, and I knew I was in a dark place. And I remember one day, I was in so much pain. I was home, and I remember calling my brother who passed away, God rest his soul. My brother, you know, back then he was a little rough around the edges. You mess with his sisters and he's going to get you, just like my dad. And I was in so much pain, and I felt like I wanted him dead so I could live, so I could breathe. He needed to stop breathing so I could really catch my breath.
Right. Right.
And that for me was a very, very dark place, if you can only, only imagine. And I remember picking up the phone and I started dialing my brother's number, because I knew that if I had called him to say, take this person out, he would find a way. And he wouldn't do it himself. He would find a way. And I picked up the phone. I was downstairs and I picked up the phone and I was crying. And I started dialing my brother's number. And I heard a voice saying to me, put the phone down, put the phone down. And I said, no, I have to call him. I want my brother to take him out. I want my brother to just kill him. I can't even believe I'm actually saying this. But this is what the word of the Lord says, that the heart is desperately wicked. And when it's not healed, it can go anywhere. It just needs opportunity and the atmosphere to produce something horrendous. And you could not have told me that I would ever in my lifetime have the thought of killing someone, just wanting them dead, to reach that level of pain where I felt like that was my option. Either you die or I die. And of course, I wanted to live.
Right.
So I wanted you to die. And I kept dialing his number and I was crying. And the voice just got louder and louder. Put the phone down, put the phone down. And it got louder and louder. And each number I dialed, through my tears, I was bawling, trying to see the numbers. Each number I dialed, it got louder. Put the phone down, put the phone down. And it was so overwhelming. It was almost as if I couldn't concentrate on his phone number anymore to dial his number. And I dropped the phone. It was one of those phones you hang on the wall with the long extension cord. Who does that anymore? I don't know. The landline. And I dropped the phone and it fell on the ground. And I fell with the phone as well. And I curled up in a baby, bawling in so much pain and grief, not knowing what to do. Because this was my only solution, I thought. And I realized that pain can be such a horrible thing. It can bring out the very worst in you and make it seem as if you have no other option. And that's how I felt, that I was without an option. And it felt factual, but that wasn't the truth. But I didn't have the tools. I didn't have the experience. And I didn't have anyone walking alongside my pain. People saw my smile, but they didn't see the pain. They saw my smile, but they didn't see the tears. Because again, I was in hiding, because I was doing the best I could to survive with everything else that I was handling. Being a young mother, being a wife, I still had to deal with this thing that I had carried for decades and needed to make it end. So that's where I'm coming from. And to now be at the place where I am free from that, where I'm able to look at someone who I wanted to be dead so I could live, so I could breathe and have compassion. And I'm able to extend grace and I'm able to think of them in a way that pleases God and that honors who I am as a person, who I've chosen to be after walking on my journey of transformation. It is absolutely fantastic and such a beautiful journey. And I'm just so grateful to be here. And my purpose in knowing where I've been in such level of pain, if I could go there where I wanted to die. I literally, one day I took my car, I was in my car and I saw a truck coming That story is not in my book, but it was a 18-wheeler. And I said, just go in front of the truck and just stop suddenly. So the truck could just drive over you to make it stop, to make the pain stop. And the thing is, no one knew I was in so much pain.
Right.
And I had to carry this as a young girl. And I felt that that was my option. So it's so important to me to share. I know that I went through that, not for myself. I overcame that pain, not on my own. I had people to walk alongside with me. But by the grace of God, I overcame that. And my life has been transformed. And that is not something I can keep to myself. I owe it to that 13-year-old girl or that woman who's not able to speak up for herself, to bring her hope, help, and healing that is available.
Hope,
I'm on the
help,
other
and
side of that
healing.
pain.
Absolutely.
And it's
We
fantastic. It's
forgiveness.
such freedom.
Freedom, absolutely, in the forgiveness.
Yes.
We're going to take a little break and come back and talk about the tools you found, the freedom you found, and your ability to forgive. So right before we go, Petra, where could people find you?
They can find me. I'm on Instagram, but if you want to shoot me an email, you could get me at petrawyshaw@gmail.com. And Instagram, it's Petra Shaw _ and my website, www.petrawyshaw.com.
Awesome. We'll be right back. Everyone, thank you so much for tuning in. Back, everyone, to Transformation with Martine, where we overcome everything and compromise nothing. Today, my guest is Petra Shaw, and we have been talking about sexual trauma and getting to a place of forgiveness, healing. For those of you who don't know, along with Petra, and I don't know actually very many women that this hasn't happened to. So it happened to me too as well. 3 instances, 3 sexual molestations before I turned 9. And I didn't feel valuable. I didn't feel heard. I didn't feel like I mattered. And it took a lot of healing and work with others, walking beside me, as Petra was talking about, to get to a place where I could forgive. Because the truth does bring us freedom. The truth of what happened to us and the people that hurt us being in a toxic place. They chose to do what they did, but they couldn't have been in their right minds. So Petra, how did you start your journey of healing? Where did you start to heal those deep wounds?
So I started my journey. I was on the journey a very long time, and I was in denial for a very long time. I knew the bitterness was there, the anger, the hurt, the pain, the unforgiveness was there. And again, I'm a church girl, proud church girl.
Yeah.
And I am a woman of faith. And I kept praying, and I kept asking, Lord, help me to forgive, help me to forgive, help me to forgive. And I prayed that prayer for a long time, to the point where I convinced myself that I did, that, okay, I've forgiven this person. But I knew what I felt in my heart. I would say I forgive, but at the mention of the name, I still felt the bitterness. At the mention of the name, I felt pain. And those two don't go. When true forgiveness happens, those are taken away. The pain, the shame, the blame, the resentment, the hurt. It actually goes with that when you reach that point of true forgiveness and freedom from the trauma. So I kept praying for years, but I still felt it. And that's why I love to say, Martine, after you pray, especially as women of faith, after you pray, there's something else that needs to happen. you need to do something else after you pray. Prayer is the starting point, and it's very good. We have to pray. It begins there, but then there's more work to be done after we've prayed. And so my journey started with really talking with God and asking him, where were you? Why did you allow this
So
to
many
happen
women would ask that right there.
to me?
Yes.
Like, I need you. You love me, and I know you love me, but I need to make sense of all of this. Where were you? You know, why did you allow this to happen? And I asked this question for years. Why? And help me to forgive. I never really got an answer because, I was just in the pain of it all. Like, just tell me why. Until one day I was going to, grocery shopping, and I sat in my car. It was on a Friday, never forgot. And before I went to the grocery store, I was asking the question again. I was just in that frame of mind. And I asked the question, God, where were you? Just tell me why? Why did this happen to me? I'm a good girl. Why did this happen to me? And I'm stuck. I feel stuck. And the answer came to me that day. That was my answer. I'm not saying it's going to be everybody's answer, but very clearly, I've never heard it before explained this way. And my answer was, what I was seeking was the law of proximity. And I said to the Holy Spirit, as he was speaking back to me, what do you mean? I don't understand the law of proximity. That whatever you're close to, whatever you're near, it has the effect on you, the possibility of you getting whatever that thing or that person has. There's a transference. If people are making choices, they're able to make choices, and those choices will affect you because you're in proximity to that individual. And so that was one piece. And the next piece of my relief came from the fact that this individual who hurt you, truly, I know the meaning of hurt people. That this individual had so much hurt and pain and chaos and toxicity in his life that was all he had to give, really. And he passed on to you because you were close enough in that proximity. He passed it on to you. It wasn't that God wasn't there and he couldn't have done anything, but the law of choice is also working. We get to choose our behaviors. We get to choose what we will do and what we won't do. And that person made a choice. And that's one of the greatest gifts we've been given. We can choose for the better or choose for the worse. And he made a toxic choice. And because I was within his proximity, that choice got to me. It affected my life. And a light bulb came on. And I understood it from a different perspective. That this person too needs help to be relieved of his toxicity, of his pain that would allow him to treat someone who has been entrusted in his care. Would take so much from someone who is looking to you for protection and love and care. This is the choice you made. And God started to really deal with my heart and taught me how to forgive. It wasn't a one and done. Right. But with that perspective, I understood it. That God wasn't away, but he does respect our choices, even the wrong ones. He respects them. And unfortunately, people do get hurt with those choices we make. And so I had to learn to look from that perspective he gave me, that resolve he gave me. And so I continue to pray from a different perspective. And every time I would feel that bitterness, I became aware that I could make a different choice, that this was not my only option. Just like the day on the phone when I called my brother, I wanted to tell him to take him out. I felt that was my only option. Now God was giving me other options, making me aware that this is not the only way you can choose to think or feel. You can choose something else. And so when I felt the bitterness, when I felt the pain, I turned that bitterness into a prayer. And I asked God, would you take this? Would you help me to see it as you see it? and to release this person who needs help also.
Right.
Because the truth is, we are more alike than we're different. We are more alike than we're different. And as you're helping me, this person needs help. And as I'm asking you to forgive me, I need to forgive so I can receive your forgiveness. So that's really what one of the major things that really helped me. I turned the bitterness and the anger and the pain into a prayer. And I prayed my prayer for years, constantly, every time I felt it. But what I noticed, Martine, that as I prayed more and more, that every time I prayed, I felt less anger, I felt less bitterness. And that's why some people stop in the midst of it, because we do it today and tomorrow. We'll do it for 90 days and we don't see any results and then we quit.
Right.
But I stayed in the process because healing is a process. It is a journey. It's not a one and done. It's not one or two or three prayers. It is a process. And I thank God for the grace that he gave me the wisdom to stay with the process. That every time I felt the pain, every time I felt the unforgiveness, I turned to prayer. And I released him all over again. I released him about 1,000 times, but I got there until one day I heard his name in conversations and nothing was in my heart. I didn't need to pray anymore. I felt nothing but compassion. So my pain was turned into compassion. My anger, my resentment, after I stayed in the process, was turned into compassion and true forgiveness. So I became aware that I could make another choice. I became willing to look at someone else's chaos and their toxic choices that affected me and see it from a different perspective so I could be released. To think and to have the mindset that I needed to have in that time so that my freedom could come. Because at the end of the day, it's all about perspective.
Right.
It's how we're looking at what the stories we're making up about what's going on in our lives, what's happened, and those stories we're holding on to. And I chose another version that brought me freedom.
I love that, because life is a journey, and transformation, there is no one and done. There is not. And what was so pivotal for me was, how sometimes you hear somebody's story and you get a bit of healing in your own.
Yes.
I was at a live event about 2 or 3 years ago. That's a good 3. Yeah, time's flying. At least 3 years ago. And this person had also been molested by a family member. And she just, I just don't understand what was wrong with me. Like, what did I do wrong? How did this happen to me?
Yeah.
And the coach said, it was your light. There was nothing wrong with you. Your light was so bright, he couldn't take it. He took you down a notch. And that was really something for me, like, okay, maybe there was nothing wrong with me either. Maybe my light was too bright as well. That was such a healing thing for me as well. So we are going to take a break. And when we come back, I'd like to talk about what healing looks like. And before we go, where can everyone find you, Petra?
Definitely. They can find me at my website, www.petrawyshaw.com. You can email me at petrawyshaw@gmail.com, and Instagram, Petra Shaw _.
And everyone, do check out her book, The Image in the Mirror. It's wonderful. Her story, other people's story. I highly, highly recommend it. We'll be back, everyone. Welcome back, everyone, to Transformation with Martine, where we overcome everything and compromise nothing. My guest today is Petra Shaw, and we have been talking about sexual trauma and the healing of the trauma and the healing of our hearts and forgiveness. So on the break, Petra and I were talking about how we as women, especially moms, we tend to put ourselves off, tend to put ourselves on the back burner until it comes to a point of almost breaking, because we are told, as women, pull up your big girl panties and keep going.
Yeah.
And because we're always so concerned about others, our kids and everything else. But there reaches a point that we know if we don't take care of ourselves, we're not really good, not only as a mother, but we're not really good to anyone if we're not caring for ourselves. So, Petra, what does healing look like? Taking that time out for us and stepping into a place of healing and being able to take that time for us and finding that teacher that is there for us when we're ready.
Yeah. Martine, I think by nature we're caretakers.
Mm-hmm.
We are nurturers as women. Whether you're a wife, you're a mom, you're an entrepreneur, we're caretakers.
Mm-hmm.
That's just what we do, and we nurture, and we're always seeking to be a blessing to someone else, to take care of someone else, to give to others. And in the process of that, we forget ourselves. We are taking care of our husbands, our children. We're taking care of people on the job, people on the street. Heck, like a homeless man, like, stay right here, don't move. I'm going to bring you some clothes. I'm going to bring you something to eat. We are constantly seeking to take care of others. That's innate in most of us. But in that process, we forget about our own hearts and what we've been through. And, when I talk to the women that I meet on my program every Tuesday evening, it's called Something More. This is one of the things I usually tell them, that we've all been marinated in something. We've all been marinated in something. I don't care who you are, something's gotten on you or in you. And how do you navigate that? You have to take time to go back and be willing to ask the question, what do I need? Because most of the times, because we're taking care of everybody else and we're superwomen, no one's really asking you or me, what do you need, sweetheart? So we have to be conscientious enough, be responsible enough to ask the question, what do I need? And what have I been marinated in that has left something on me or in me? And what is that thing?
Yeah.
And how do I navigate that? And most of what's been left with us, if it's not abuse, I've been going through this with women as well, just talking about the different types of abuse, emotional abuse, sexual abuse, domestic violence, you name it. We've gone there and we've talked about it. So these things we go through, we don't just get to go through them and that's it. It does something to us. It changes us. And we have to go back and sit with ourselves and peel the layers of our lives back so we could get to really the core of ourselves. What's really there? And is it serving us? Is it good? Is it not good? Do we need to move this, take this out, do something with it? Because if it stays there, it's really not going to serve our lives. And so I think it's so important to go back to do the work. I talk about this a lot. We have to do the work. So praying is great, but doing the work, being willing to open yourself up and to walk alongside someone else is so, so important. Till we get to that place where the ego is not functioning and telling us we need to hide and we need to protect, we need to prove, and we need to defend ourselves. When we reach that place of freedom after we have done the work, we operate from that place of not trying to hide, but that from the place of freedom where we stand in our truth, stand on the pain and not in the pain, where we're fully aware, we become fully aware of who we are and how fantastic we are, how amazing we are. But before we can get there, we have to heal our hearts. What does that look like? Nobody knows your story like you do.
Right, exactly.
And nobody can tell it like you can. And I remember I shared that, what my healing looked like, Martine, with praying and becoming aware. I walked alongside earth angels and they're all around. You just have to find yours. There are earth angels that are assigned to you. That's going to help you see what's already inside. They're not there to tell you what to do or to put a Band-Aid on it. They're already there to show you what's already inside, the power that's inside for you to reach that place of freedom and transformation. Yeah. And I remember my earth angels, I had gone to a conference and it was with 4 women And I'd felt for years that because of my trauma, because of what I'd gone through, I felt worthless. I didn't feel enough. I felt like I always had to overcompensate, not realizing that God made me enough. I was always going above and beyond, and I never felt that I would be successful or could be successful in my life. And my earth angels, they put me in the middle of a circle, and 4 of them held hands. And they started to speak my mantra. And my mantra was, I am successful. And they started very low, and they kept going higher and higher in decibel, and kept saying, you are successful. You are successful. You are successful. And on the top of their voices, and I felt something raised up in me. These women who stood there as my earth angel to empower me, that you are successful, telling me who I already was, but I was willing to open up. I was willing to receive something from them. I was willing to let someone walk alongside me and see my fears and my pain and my tears.
That's not always easy.
Yeah, it's not always easy,
No.
but that left me so, that brought me so much peace and so much direction in my life. And I have never forgotten that day. So that awareness came, and I began to walk in the awareness of choosing forgiveness over anger and pain. I realized that there's a different way of being. I realized that I am enough, that I was enough. I am enough. And everything I need to make it in my life, to be successful, to make it to that place of freedom, that it was inside of me, just waiting to be realized, waiting to be unearthed, waiting to be tapped into. That what I was hearing was not the truth, seemed factual, but that was not my truth. And so it's important to me to let other women know, stop, find out, what do I need? Be willing to look where you're coming from, what you've been marinated in, and see what's left on you. See what's left in you. It's not what you're eating, it's what's eating you. Well, I say it's not what you've been in, it's what's gotten into you, because we'll always operate from that place. And so because of the abuse, I was in unforgiveness for years. But I realized, I became aware that there was another way of being, that I didn't have to live my life in pain for the rest of my life, that I could choose something else. And I chose forgiveness. By the grace of God, by my earth angels who strengthened me when I needed to be strengthened. And, I chose forgiveness over the pain, over the shame, over the guilt, over the resentment. I chose to understand who I am at a cellular level. And it is absolutely marvelous in my eyes. There's a scripture that I love that says, it is the Lord's doing, and it is marvelous in my eyes. I didn't believe that I could be where I am in my life right now, that I could be so free, and I could have this level of love and forgiveness and compassion. I love that word, compassion, to others who have hurt me, did me wrong, that I am at that place of awareness and transformation in my life, that I get to choose my outcome. And that feels so good. So we have to remember our hearts. Remember our hearts and speak the truth. When you stop to look at what you've been marinated in, speak the truth. Because it is truth that sets us free.
100%.
It is the truth that sets us free. Being willing to speak the truth about where you've been, what you're feeling right now, how you're feeling. If you're in pain, say you're in pain. Don't pretend that you're not in pain. It's okay to be in pain. That's the first step, to say I'm in pain. Because the longer you pretend that it's not there, you give it power to persist. And when it persists, that pain persists, it's going to create a lot of ugly things. The resentment is going to persist, the shame and the blame and the guilt, that unworthiness is going to persist in our lives. And that's where we'll operate from. If that is what's on the inside, that's the place you will operate from. And that's why it's so important to get our hearts healed, because whatever is on the inside, that's the place you will operate from. Whatever is on the inside of me, that's the place I get to operate from. So if there's brokenness, if there's pain, if there's unforgiveness, if there's resentment, if there's unworthiness, everything you do flows from that place of brokenness and pain and shame. And so it's so important to remember that it is possible. There is help, there's hope, there's healing. Mm-hmm. You just have to want it enough. And you just have to have the courage to stay with the process, because it's not a one and done. No, it's not a one and done. So go back, take the time for you, realize that you need help, and be willing to walk towards help. I believe that God works through people to people. He works through his broken children who has allowed themselves to receive truth so they could get to their place of healing and freedom, to help his other children who are broken and just waiting for that time to come. And I believe, Martine, that when we are ready, when the student is ready, the teacher shows up.
Yes.
Healing will come when you're ready. True healing will come when you are ready. If you keep asking, how do you know you're getting to that place? There has to be an inquiry on your part. Is this it? If you're asking today, is this it? You're getting closer to that place where you're ready for your teacher.
Yeah, absolutely.
If you're asking the question, why, you're getting a little bit closer to the answer for your teacher to show up.
Right. And
for you to get on the journey.
Right. You don't have to wait. If it's already coming at you,
yes,
and you know you need to do something and you feel something, not everybody like me. I mean, I firmly, and actually I know 100% that my cancer was resentment. I know it was. I just kept taking it on until it formed a big old tumor.
My God.
In my body. You know, the size of a baby, over 8-pound tumor in my body. That was resentment, that was pain, that was hurt. And it was until that happened that I thought, oh my gosh, I got to do something here. And I'd had therapy, I had all kinds of things before then, but I didn't take it seriously enough.
Yeah.
I think that was God's, like, you know, sometimes they say you need a ton of bricks falling on your head to do something. Well, that was mine. That woke me up. I knew I needed to do something.
Absolutely.
You know, but it doesn't have to. But, you know, like you sharing your story, me sharing my story, I believe it gives others permission to share their story.
Absolutely.
The more we share, the more healing comes our way. And then those teachers can come our way.
Yes, absolutely. It's so important to know, Martine, as I was meditating this morning on the fact that, you know, reaching to that place of wholeness is really having that awareness of who we are, that we're body, soul, and spirit. And we're primarily spirit, but the soul, which it comprises of the mind, the will, and the emotion. It is the interface between the spirit and the body. And what's going on in the mind, the control center, will affect what results we have in the spiritual realm and also in the physical realm, our bodies. So when we're holding on to resentment and unforgiveness, it's producing something even in the physical realm in our bodies. Our bodies are responding to the energy it's getting from what we're thinking, because we first think, we feel, we do, and then we have our destinies. We think, we feel, we do. So what's going on from the mindset, that paradigm, it has to be shifted. And that's what I got when God spoke to me that day, when I asked him why. I was ready for my answer that day. I couldn't even go in the grocery store. I drove straight back home in tears because a light bulb went off in my head, and I understood it, that what I'm thinking, how I'm viewing things will show up in my life one way or another. And so it's really getting our minds right, our hearts right. How are we thinking? What perspectives are we having? What are we saying? Because again, we think, we feel, we do. Speaking is an action, and you shall have what you say. So absolutely, that unforgiveness, the resentment, a lot of people can find it very hard to receive healing, physical healing in their bodies because of unforgiveness. So what's going on in the paradigm, in the mindset, will produce in the spiritual and also in the physical body as well. Yeah. So as you mentioned that thought came back to me because I was meditating on that. So it's so important to get the mind right, and to have the tools to get us to that place where we're thinking like we should, having the perspectives that we should around everything in our lives, in our physical lives, our spiritual lives, our financial lives, our relational lives, our relationships. It's all about our perspective. Our perspective.
Yeah, 100%. I agree with that. I remember a colleague saying at one point, she said, like, she just, in regards to healing, like, just lay me out on the table and just cut out those parts. Like, I don't want that stuff anymore. I want to heal all of it, and whatever it takes, just let's take it out. And I remember that thinking about that was my cancer journey was before that happened. But I just remember kind of feeling like that. Just get that was my resentment. Take it out. All the anxiety and resentment and hurt and pain and not enoughness out. And let's replace that with healing and love and forgiveness and compassion.
Yes,
right?
compassion.
The people
Higher
that hurt
choices.
us. Yeah.
Higher choices.
Yeah.
Higher
The
choices.
people that hurt us were hurt too.
Yes.
They wouldn't even be in that place.
Yeah,
They
absolutely.
were hurt too.
And it's having the awareness, becoming aware, because before the transformation can happen, before the healing can happen, we have to be aware that that's in there, that I've been marinated in this and it's there. And I needed to be taken out. I needed to be cut out. Like, however, I just know I don't want this anymore.
Yeah.
So it's becoming fully aware that we can make a higher choice that will produce what we really want. And we're looking for wholeness, and we're looking for freedom, and all of those things that are so beautiful, that really transforms our life. There's a way to get there, but the first step is awareness that there's a higher choice. Staying in prayer, asking for help, because everyone that asks receives. And that's the word. And being willing to be vulnerable enough. Vulnerability is not weakness, it's strength. Be vulnerable enough to allow someone to see you. Because we've been trained to make everything look pretty with our smiles, and we hide everything else. But be vulnerable enough to say, this is where I am, this is what I need. And be willing to sit with someone and peel those layers back. Never out of shame, never out of guilt, never out of blame, but out of full awareness that this is where I am and this is where I need to be. It's all about that awareness, because we could never get to where we need to be if we don't know where we are.
Yes, right there. Oh, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
We have to have that introspection to know, where am I? And what do I need? And then we can strategically plan a pathway to where we want to get to.
Exactly.
We got to know where we are. And that takes truth and honesty and vulnerability to say, this is where I am. And when we open up, we're giving the healing an opportunity to come, the process of healing to begin.
Yes.
With truth and that awareness. So I say, Martine, that if you're asking the question, is this it? If you're getting up every day and just feeling that you have no clue why you're here, if you're living in anger, if you have no joy, no peace, those are some clues that you're in a place that's not designed for you. Right. And something in your soul is egging you on to find your something more, to find your place of power, to find your place of freedom and peace and wholeness. But you got to be able to stop and say, this is where I am. Be willing to raise your hands to say, I need help. Would you walk with me?
Oh, and that's such a hard place for so many people.
Yeah.
That's why you have to be ready. I know there's so many times I've just felt so much fear, but I know I needed it. And I don't want, and I think actually the regret is so much more painful, right? You don't want to live in a regret. This is your precious life here. And God
Yes.
designed you for a purpose and with passion, with hope and a future, right?
Yes. Yes.
That we need to relax, show yourself to somebody you trust, obviously,
Yes. Yes.
and
Absolutely.
ask for that help. It has to be a safe environment,
A safe
but
place.
help is out there.
Help.
Help is out there.
So it doesn't matter where you are, what you've been through. I've said it before and I'll say it again because it is my experience and I've watched it in other people as well. There's help. There's help. And if you want it bad enough, there's help. Sometimes all you need to do is just make one step towards what's egging you. Just be willing to make one step.
Yeah. Reach out to someone.
Just, as hard as it is, as scary as it is, do it afraid.
Yeah.
But there's help and there's hope and there's healing. There's help in the Lord who has empowered other people to walk with you. There's hope, as you said, Martine. He says, I know the plans I have for you. And the plan is not a painful one, not for you to live in pain and anger and resentment, for you to live in unforgiveness and fear, blame and shame all the days of your life. His plan is to give us all a hope and a future, to allow us to live in joy and freedom in that place of dominion that he has placed us in from the beginning. So there is hope, there's help, and there's healing for your hearts, where you can truly come into that full awareness of who you are and whose you are, understanding your purpose, why you're here, and living in that place of true understanding. It is beautiful. And when you get the revelation of that, you're willing to say, take it all away. Take the resentment, take the fear, because it's not going to serve me anyways. It's just going to get me more of what I have, more of what I'm experiencing. The fear, the pain, the blame, the shame, the resentment, the anger, the hurt, the unforgiveness is going to keep you stuck where you are. And if you're not willing to stay if you're willing to stay where you are, then keep doing what you've been doing. But if you're looking for something more, if you're looking for wholeness and healing and freedom, you've got to be willing to do something different.
There's always choice, and you can choose to stay where you are, or you can choose to get help and live the life that you're meant to live. So we are about out of time, but Petra, can you tell everybody once more where they can find you? And then we have to say adios.
I know. This was so much fun. Again, my website, www.petrawyshaw.com. You can email me at petrawyshaw@gmail.com, and on Instagram, Petra Shaw _.
All right. Thank you so much, Petra. It's been an awesome time. We've got to clear out for the next show, but thank you so much, everyone, for being here.
This is so much fun.
Yes, it was.
Thank you for having me, Martine.
Thank you so much for being here. And thank you, everyone, for being here. And I hope this was great for you as it was for us.
Yes.
Bye, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
All clear? Thank you for listening to Transformation with Martine. Did listening today spark a sense of hope and possibility? Hold on to this feeling and tune in every second and fourth Friday at 10 a.m. Pacific for more inspiring conversations with Martine and her guests. They will show you there is hope, and you are right where you need to be. Martine is dedicated to supporting you right where you are while launching you towards promise, passion, and possibility that leads to the fulfilled life your heart aches for. If you're tired of being stuck, schedule a complimentary consultation with Martine and get on the exciting path towards the life you want to be living. Visit martineemmons.com and make your appointment today.